Go. Hi, there
Go,
we are.
hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for
Good.
having us. Thank you for the
Yes.
technical difficulties there.
I don't think that's Instagram Live if you don't have a slight trouble getting the people you want to talk to on.
That's
But
right.
we're all here and there's some folks joining. So we'll do some introductions and then we will get into this really amazing topic tonight. I'm so excited. So I am Kenzie Locks. I am the Director of Educational Development here at Yesh Tikva. This is my very first Instagram Live with Yesh Tikva, so I'm so excited to be talking to two such wonderful people. And so tonight we have Ayala and Josh Gross, who how it could take us forever just to do your intros, I feel like, in the most wonderful of ways. But just to give you the briefest of overviews in terms of your relationship to Yesh Tikva, and please add, correct anything. But Ayala, really, first of all, you're a board member, and you started our One Candle program. So if anybody is familiar with our One Candle program, it is, I mean, it's such a staple. I feel like of one of the things that we really do and the services we provide, and it spreads so much awareness about infertility. I just tabled in Teaneck and had folks creating their One Candle and explaining it, and folks who had never really understood how close infertility can hit a family and what it can be like are currently praying for folks going through infertility because of the program you started while going through your own journey. And you also host the Pure podcast with Ayala, which the reason that we're really talking tonight as well is the most recent episode that just came out on June 17th, Broken Male Infertility. Is if you don't listen to this podcast, please go listen to this podcast and just I can't speak to where you should start necessarily. I'm very biased, but start there. These two and their first of all, just your dynamic. I know you're married, so your dynamic should be something special, but it really is, and I could see that, and I actually watched the podcast instead of just listening, and I was like, oh, you two just seem fantastic
Oh,
together.
thank you for
And you
watching
were,
it.
yeah, and vulnerable and open, and I appreciated it so much. So anything I'm leaving out that I should be mentioning in terms
No,
of your relationship with Yesh Tikva?
I think I'm so honored to be a part of Yeshikva and be involved in the amazing work that you guys do. It helps couples who are struggling with infertility. I myself wish that I had this. We both wish we had Yeshikva around when we were going through infertility. The support that it gives couples is amazing. I know we always focus on the woman, but it really does give a lot of support to couples and awareness to the community and family and friends and parents of children who are going through it. So really, bravo, kudos for joining this amazing organization. It's changing the world. It's helping so many people. So I'm glad to be part of
Yeah,
it.
I just ditto to everything. I completely agree, obviously. And so just to kind of give, like, do you mind giving the two of you just like a brief overview of, I believe it was a 15-year infertility journey. Do I have that number right? Can
Yes,
you
yeah.
can you sum that up in how do you sum up 15 years, right?
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess everybody who follows me on both the Baby and Pure podcast, they hear from me a lot. So I'll let my husband take this one since
Sure.
I do a lot of the talking. I'll let him do that part.
I'd listen,
It's a
not to
quick
gender,
summary.
but I mean, same in my marriage
Yeah.
too.
I feel kind of bad because the fertility journey, as far as my perspective, it's really the female. So you should really take it on. But I'll help here. For me, the journey, the physicality aspect of it is always on the woman. And I don't think uh, as a husband or a spouse, you can never actually really experience or feel that aspect of it. So the emotional side and how that affects the relationship, fine. But the actual physicality and the pain, we don't go through it. So it's very hard um, to be there and relate as far as what the journey was because it was hundreds of needles, hundreds of injections and crying and trips to doctors and this clinic and that clinic and as the years went by, there was a lot of anger and fear and when we started out our journey, it was kind of in my mind, it was just okay, whatever. This is like, I have a cold or a flu, go to urgent care and have a solution and give us some medication and be done. I didn't think it would be um, as prolonged as it was, to the point where at some point in the journey, I just gave up. I just said, forget it. In my mind, I was checked out of having a child. Something is, when you get to that point, you start not sharing things with your spouse. You just kind of hold things in, a lot of anger. But we started out first with like the IUI, and that was okay in the beginning because that sounded very scientific and sounded very smart to do and sounded like, okay, great plan. Doctors all recommended it. We'll do that and we'll keep trying that for a while and, they'll throw medication with it. And that fails, month after month and month after month. And you keep hearing, okay, we'll up this medication to take that medication down. And as long as the doctor's making movement, you're kind of hopeful, right? So as long as it doesn't
Right.
change from month to month, you're hopeful that the next month will be different and you pray that the next month will be different. And of course, in a lot of cases, it's not. And then in our journey, the financial weight at that point, was IVF was just not in the question at that point. We had spoken with a few organizations. There was no real, there wasn't enough support back then. This is probably what, 2010, to actually go or start IVF. So the doctors kind of say, hey, well, you did IUI for 12 months plus. You did intralipids for 3 of those months. We tried this, tried that. So at this point, IVF is the only hope. So then you hear that word hope used by a doctor in what they think is a positive way, but it's negative because it's the only hope. And then the only hope fails. Then what do you do? So then we moved down to Florida. We did IVF, our first cycle of IVF, and it failed. Just to go as fast as I can. It fails. The
Yeah,
doctor.
and I don't mean to rush you. We're
Sure,
here to
sure.
hear it.
Yeah. So you do IVF, and then of course you go into it kind of very negative at that point. This is at that point we were 9 years IUI. We were 9 years of the journey, first IVF cycle, and
And I'm just going to pause you for 1
yeah,
second. How long have you been married at this point?
9 years.
Yeah,
Right.
when we first did our IVF, we were married
Yes.
at about 7 years. That was like when we first
Yeah.
started our first
Yeah.
IVF.
Right.
And then we did our second one
Yeah.
at 9 years.
So pretty much your whole marriage, your whole married
Oh
life
yeah.
has been infertility treatment.
Correct. So being in the frum community,
Right.
you get married and you're not really asking for Hector. You're not looking for it. You figure put it in God's hands and whatever happens, happens. But when things don't happen, you're just waiting. And then of course at that time your friends are having, kids right and left, which for a spouse, and I just know this because of how many times Ayala has expressed it and experiencing it, going to synagogue on Shabbos with stroller after stroller and meal after meal with friends that are having child, it just gets very wearing on the female. I think the emotional side is not there for that to be so effective, but seeing the pain that a woman goes through just feeling left out on the playground at shul, in the lobby at shul, at people's houses and meals. So all that's happening while you're still trying to figure out what to do and whether or not there is hope. And I think, during those times, I was kind of got to the point where I was checked out. I got to the point when we started doing the first IVF, I was just so angry at everything. It was angry at myself, angry at God, angry at doctors, looking to throw anger wherever I can because I need to blame someone or something because it didn't make sense. Our case was unexplained infertility, which to me is like even crazier, like unexplained. So you go into it thinking, all right, so if you're sick, we get this medication. If we have that ailment, we'll have that solution. And it didn't come. So years go by and we do the first IVF cycle and it fails and, I'm angry, whatever. And I go to the doctor says, all right, we'll try again. Same thing as doctors with IUI. We'll just try again. And that just got me so infuriated because at this point, now we're spending $45,000, $50,000
like just the
per try.
pressure of that piece of it, right?
Correct.
Like the pressure, it just turns up so, IUI is its own, it's pressuring, but IVF is like just financially, and the physical of it is just,
Yeah, it's just
you're putting yourselves in a pressure cooker trying to have a baby at that point, it feels
correct.
like.
And I guess I was looking for more empathy from a doctor, which I shouldn't have been,
Mm,
because he does this all day. He can't be
right,
there and
but
cry with
still.
everybody. But still, what are we changing? And he said nothing. And at that
Mm,
point, that's when um, that's the whole story on the podcast
yes.
of me, driving back home with Yala, her going, in the corner crying, me leaving the house, me screaming at God, blaming God, not realizing the pain that my wife was in, not
Mm,
connecting to that emotional side at all, trying to fix it, trying to always fix it, have a solution. What's the next step? Okay, it's over. It didn't work. What's happening next? Even asking the doctor, what's the next step? Is that solution oriented phase, not a pause and be
right.
like, hey, give my wife a hug. It's okay, let's go. Next month, what are we
Right.
doing?
Start
And
over.
he, and here's my wife with the bruises from the needles and the emotional pain, the physical pain, and I'm just focused on like let's get it over with so everyone can relax and everyone could
Right.
you know come back to normal as far as the emotional scale.
Right. And can I just switch over? So I like, what was that like for you, Ayala, to have your partner just, okay, what's next? What's next? Like, I know he's saying kind of what it was like for you, but I'm so curious just from within you, what was that like?
Yeah, so it was definitely, we've spoken about this like a lot. It was very challenging. But I think that when a woman or myself, and I speak for women, when you're in that moment, um, even if he was emotionally available for me in that time, nothing would have really helped
Mm,
from my partner per se at that moment. It was just like it was as much as my husband was solution orientated, women are also too. We're like, we just want to have that baby. I want to get this whole thing over with. I don't want to sit here and dwell. I want to get through this. And so yeah, there's definitely hard times when your partner isn't there for you. And again, I'm not putting you on the chopping block, but I feel that a lot, like, and we've spoken about this publicly too, a lot of men have a hard time understanding how to be there for their wives. So
yeah.
you feel that you don't have a baby, and then your marriage starts to crumble because you don't feel like you have the husband that you need. So he's not giving you a baby, and he's not giving you the emotional support. So everything gets so heavy. And what a lot of women do, and I know this from my own experience, but also in the last 10 years mentoring women, even through my own infertility journey, I was mentoring women too, which was crazy. Um, they
It
go
doesn't
into
surprise me just with everything that you seem like you do for others. Like, it doesn't surprise me that of course you're serving others while you're struggling
that
yourself.
it
Sorry
helped
to
me a
interrupt.
lot. No, 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 no.
Yeah,
It
I
helped
believe
me.
it.
It was so helpful to break out of yourself. But a lot of women go into seclusion, and I did that for myself. I went into seclusion. I went emotionally suppressed everything. I didn't express myself in my relationships, not just with my husband, with my friends. I didn't know where to turn to. There was no yesh tikva at that time. At
Mhm.
that time, there was nothing. And, there was, I could tell you, it was the story where finally an infertility awareness and support group popped up in my synagogue. That was the turning point for me because now I didn't have to rely emotionally on my husband for something that he couldn't give me in that moment. He was
Mhm.
having his own journey, which I was not again aware of until again more recently after we've kind of finished our infertility journey. So instead of going to him for something that he couldn't give me in that moment, it wasn't fair for me to ask him to. I found this support and help in other women who were struggling, and
Mm.
that made me feel less alone. So that was really helpful. And then when I started filling my own cup, I started coming back to our relationship, less needing from him and more being able to share where I am, more able to share my struggle, my journey. And regardless if he was able to give it to me at that moment, the support I needed, it put less pressure on our relationship being like, I need you to fix everything and emotionally.
Yeah, I think those years of doctors' offices and month after month created or didn't create it removed vulnerability from our marriage because we were both in a place of being strong for each other, holding this one's pivot, and then you're not talking about it. I mean, if I look back, we spoke about this, I think, in the podcast. I don't think we had a really conversation during those years of actual feelings. I think it got to the point where it was so robotic that we weren't crying together. We weren't holding each other. We were just focused on what's the next step. And that was the conversation. What doctor? When's the appointment? What time? Who's going? Who's driving? What medication? And we're just crying in each other's corners. I mean, it's just like totally separated. And then I guess when you kind of get through it and further into it, we got further along that it got so removed where there was no even, I mean, for my part, I had zero conscious awareness of any emotional pain that I was going through. I didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, so a lot of couples I'm sure who watching this who've gone through infertility journeys themselves, it starts affecting not just your relationship but your intimacy and physical intimacy. You don't, because you're not connecting emotionally, there's no emotional intimacy. So the physical intimacy doesn't really, it holds a back seat even though you're trying to connect through that way. The connection is like it's severed because you don't have the emotional IQ. So the physical is just like it's just like a missed high five. Like
Right.
it doesn't work the way that you want it to, which is
Yeah.
a
It sounds
hard
like,
thing.
yeah, you don't have the emotional safety within each other that you used to
Right.
have. So to go into that place, it's not the same. It's very different, especially when it's this person that in the past, I'm sure you trusted implicitly and that you could turn to them for anything. Suddenly
Yeah.
you can't turn to them for this huge thing. It's like you're working on a group project.
Yeah.
And it as opposed.
Let's make a baby instead
Yeah.
of let's have a baby
Roommate.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like
No,
that.
I
That's a
always
good way
said
to put
it
it.
was roommates. I always say
Yeah.
roommates, and she would call us roommates, and
Yeah.
I would get upset, but
Yeah.
she was right. She was 100% right. It was spot on.
Yeah.
That's where our relationship got um when we did that cycle. When we got to the, I think, RMA, that's when we were at that level and just going through motions.
And how
Really.
can I ask, how are you presenting to those like around you? Like, did your friends and family realize that you were, number one, having these infertility struggles, but also just struggling within the relationship? Or was it, we hear a lot from folks that feel like they really kind of have to put on a happy face and showcase, we're happy together, even if we don't have a baby just yet, everything feels good. But it's, behind
I
closed
mean,
doors, things can often be like what you have, what
I
you had.
I always felt that everyone was talking behind our backs,
Mm,
whispering, like my family for sure. I felt that, like, it's so sad, and then I would go and create what they're talking about. Yeah, I have no proof of it, but that's where my head will go. Like, so then again, you're not discussing it. My friends knew the struggle because again, it's funny. I have a friend I spoke to like 2 weeks ago, and we were in yeshiva together, and he's like, "Yeah, my son's going to college," and I'm like, and our first child is going to second grade, like,
yeah,
because that spread difference of what we had and our generation or our age group had.
But
yeah,
I think also like the way that we presented, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way we presented to people, it wasn't even a presenting. When we were out, it was a relief
okay,
because at home it was like we don't want to talk
Correct.
IVF stuff or we have to or this. We watched so much TV. Like we ended up, I think I have a whole catalog of like Netflix in my head during that time. Like we
Kind of.
hibernated, we hid. But when we went out, we were like so happy because we were out of this like bubble that we didn't want to be in. That house should have had a baby in it. That house should have had kids and mess and toys. Instead, we had two
right,
dogs. We kept getting more dogs. We didn't have kids. Like if I don't have a dog this year, kid babies are getting a dog. So it was not a home that we
yeah,
wanted, that we were trying to build. So
yeah,
getting out of it was like a relief where we could be
right,
each other. So like we would hang out and
mm,
our friends would be, oh, we're so jealous of your relationship. We're like, yeah, yeah. And then we'd go home and like, and it was fine, but there was distance. Like,
right,
now what? Like it's a
right,
quiet house with two dogs that just took a
right,
poop by the door and now I have to
yeah.
clean that up. Like it's not the house we want.
Right,
We
it's not
want
the house you
people.
want, it's not the family you want, and it's no longer the marriage that you were expecting, because at this point you
Correct.
thought the group project would be raising children, not,
Right.
giving shots and managing, 7 a.m. monitoring appointments and whatnot. It's
Yeah, and
different.
You know, what's funny is that part was even though it was hard and challenging, and I a lot of people who struggle with infertility, at least there's the movement.
Mm.
When that
Yeah.
stops and you don't know what to do between the next cycle, or you don't
Yeah.
have money between this next cycle, that's where the brain and the relationship and everything goes
Yeah.
to like absolute.
That
Our
was like the
pause.
worst of times for you
Yeah,
guys
I
there.
think the pause between the IUI shift to IVF, there was like a 2 year period there because we moved to Florida, we got the money together to do the first cycle. It was just because I felt blamed because financially not being able to do it right away. Let's do it. Financially not there, and then trying to put together the organizations and this and that, and I don't want to go through that. So Ayala's out there by herself trying to do what she can to organize and arrange things, try to get it moving because she wants to go, and then I didn't want to. At that point, I was just like, okay, when it happens, it happens. That's where that moment of like being checked out was just when it happens, it happens. I'm not going to force it.
And then you get the comments from friends or family. If you'd asked a family member, hey, can I borrow like, 5 grand, 6 grand for your
Right,
cycle, 10 grand? They go, well, if you can't afford it, how can you
right,
afford a child? And
right,
then you're just like,
Children don't need $10,000 randomly like that typically.
right.
right.
And like, but what they're saying has
Right.
like an ounce of truth to it. So it's
Oh,
but it's like so out of place and so wrong.
Hurtful.
But like
right.
people have babies all day that can't afford them. So then you get into
It's
this
true.
argument, and then you get an
Yeah.
argument about adoption and then IVF and why are you trying to have a baby if you can't afford? And it was like, thank God now we're on the other side where we're able to like help other couples financially and help them emotionally. So I know what it's like to be in that spot where like people say those awful things to you, and it's like you don't even know how to respond.
Right.
I forgot that one. That was infuriating. That was infuriating.
So
Yeah.
painful. And that is funny because when the people outside of us started like judging us or said small things, people were very careful. It wasn't so much. When they did that, it actually brought us together because now
Mm.
we had a common enemy.
Yes, a common
Public
enemy.
enemy.
Yeah, like
Right.
IVF.
And you're on the same page of like that was out of line. That hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that brought us together. And it's funny, like you think the people outside of you meant to help you. The fact that they like pushed us like face to face, we're like, oh my God, I hate them so much. Yeah, like, all the words. Like that brought a relationship together. So, and it's funny how that happens. Like Hashem sends you the messenger to push you on your path to growth. And those little moments helped
Yeah.
as well as
Oh,
getting out of the house and like
Yeah.
doing anything out of the house.
You know what? I appreciate that perspective because I think that that's not something that's just the common enemy part of it, as well as getting
mm,
out. Like getting out, I feel like the isolation is so common, and the push to just get out. It sounds so huge, but to know that it might feel really good out there
mm,
is wonderful advice and a good point. And then just this common enemy part of you really still were in it together, even if in a lot of those moments you didn't feel in it together. You were clearly in it together. It's just
Yeah.
losing sight of it. And I love the idea that Hashem brought Hashem brought these people to bring you kind of back face to
Yeah.
face with
It's
each
like
other.
you
This
guys are about to like disappear off the abyss emotionally. I need to send
right,
someone to like snapshot you together and be
get
like,
angry.
yeah,
Get angry here.
we're
right.
on the
Put you
same
back on
team.
the same team. Like let's
Yeah.
get
Can
you
you
back on
believe
the
that?
same
Beep,
team.
beep, 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 beep. Like,
Yeah.
They
it,
have 14 kids.
yeah,
How
and
dare they?
like they don't know anything about children and like this, and then we would be able to go off about each other. But when we were able to like have that like common enemy, it brought it together, and it made infertility lighter, and it felt like we were on the same team instead of like your team is sucks and my team is great, or vice versa. Your team's great and my team's it's
Right.
we were each other's enemy. Like,
Yeah.
why are you not being able to get pregnant, Niall?
Yeah.
Why aren't you able to get me pregnant? These conversations are going on in our head. They weren't actually
Right.
happening.
Of course.
So yeah, so like, and
Yeah.
again, because unexplained infertility is like, hey, you're gonna go and have brain surgery because like I don't know, you've been having migraines, so we're just gonna like ice cream scoop half of
Right.
your brain out and
Poke
shit it back.
around, see if it
Yeah,
helps.
like
Exactly. And,
why
and
are
it'll
we?
cost a lot of money.
It costs money and like we don't really know what we're doing, but like
Right.
it's worked before. And you're like, well,
Right.
what? I just have a
Right.
headache. Like, don't go.
So,
So,
because especially since you've mentioned your oldest is in second grade.
yes, yeah, he's going
So
into second grade, thank God.
beautiful. So, how did this journey end? Essentially, how did you guys kind of come back? Did it things sort of repair when you got pregnant? Did things repair differently? Through a different
I think
method of some kind. How did you two really get back to this place?
sure. Well, I'll take this one. So you also have to come into the camera so they know.
Yeah,
that
you're leaving us, Josh. Come back.
he's
Don't
like,
make
I'm
me get a
gonna.
common
I'm getting
enemy for
scared. We're
you.
talking about IVF again. I gotta get out. I'm getting uncomfortable.
I don't want to
Take
talk
his
about
car
it.
keys, Ayala.
I know where this goes.
So to make a long story very short, we did IVF and we made two embryos. We did a round of IVF. It failed. We did a ton of stuff between then. Finally, we do this IVF round. We get two embryos that are Baruch Hashem perfect. They transfer one, they freeze the other one. That first one is my son. He is 7.5, thank God, right now. He is wonderful. He's my miracle baby. And then we ended up separating for about a year, and we got back together. And when we got back together, when my son was about 6 months old, we got back together when he was just over a year. And then we decided we were going to try to get pregnant. And if it doesn't work, we'll go for the second embryo. We'll try.
Yeah.
You know, we'll just wait. Well, hold on. Let's go for the second embryo in October because that's when they had the next free time. And then between then and now, we'll just won't.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing the same thing we've done before. You know, like, and I have a beautiful miracle story, which I don't want to take too much time here on the podcast, but like I had a miracle story where I had in the mix. I had a spiritual experience with Hashem. I felt him there with me, and that was the night I got pregnant with my daughter. As second as we were done, I was like, I'm pregnant. He's like, ha ha ha. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
Like,
listen, I think sometimes we
pregnant.
know these things. I'm with you.
Yeah, I was like, for sure.
Totally.
It's like this is 12 years of trying to have baby,
Right.
trying every type of sex position you could possibly think of, not on your head,
Right.
upside down, nothing.
Listen,
you know? Like, yeah.
Miracles happen.
Yeah, so it's a whole story in itself. Like I told the
Eat
story.
pineapple. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm a big as a pineapple core eater myself.
Yeah, exactly. So I told the story of my daughter's birth, her naming, but we had her, and I'm gonna say miraculously because that's not fair. Every child is miraculous through whatever way they come, through adoption, through IVF, through surrogacy. It doesn't really matter. She was a natural baby. So she was our natural miracle. It just came out of nowhere after 12 years of trying. So my son was 9 years after trying IVF, 12 years with my daughter, and then we were like, okay, we got pregnant naturally.
Right.
So it should happen again, but we also have a frozen embryo, and this is I'm doing a podcast episode with somebody who just used her last frozen embryo, talking about what it's like as a woman and a couple to decide, do you use them, do you not, how to use them. So
Yeah, I think Ayala was definitely more into like planning for that second embryo. At that, after our daughter, I was like, I didn't want to go through it again.
Yeah.
I didn't, and I was scared that if we tried the second embryo and it failed, what would happen to our relationship?
Right,
So
because
I
you've
didn't.
seen what happened.
Correct.
You've separated. Like you've
Correct.
seen
So I didn't
where
want to
this
do
can
it.
go. I get
I
that. Yeah.
didn't want to mess with anything. I didn't want to do anything. I was just like, okay,
Right. You have
whatever.
two beautiful children.
Yeah, we'll try
Let's
naturally.
thank
See what
God
happens.
and keep
Correct.
going.
And if we don't use it, we don't use it. Which, like now looking back, I'm just such an asshole. But like looking at where I was, approaching. No, I was 40 at the time, and I was just scared of having a baby at 40.
Yeah.
I was just picturing myself, which is funny because I remember hearing my parents, even when they wanted to try to, 35 years or 40 years ago, oh, if we have another one, I'm going to be the grandfather at the bar mitzvah and I'm the dad. And like all that's playing through my head. And it's just bullshit. It's just crap. It's society stuff. Yeah, we're literally surrounded by adults. Like literally society was putting things in my head and it was just fear. It was just fear. Really, it boiled down to I didn't want to hurt our marriage, and I didn't want to see Ayala going through that emotional pain again of a failure.
Yeah, but I pushed, and thank God I did.
Thank God.
I pushed, and and after 15 years, it was our third pregnancy and a complete pregnancy. I didn't experience losses, nothing. It was like complete radio silence, like my body, I don't know what's going on. So this is our third pregnancy, our third child in 15 years, and he is just turned 2, and he is a miracle.
Oh.
IVF little baby who's frozen for how long? For 5 years in an IVF tank somewhere.
Yeah.
I
He's
think
been
he
around
knows being
longer than your
frozen.
daughter.
Yeah, he's older than my daughter. My
The
oldest,
twins.
yeah, my oldest son, like he's my twin. So we like to do is we share our story of infertility with our children. I show my daughter the one
Mm.
candle. She actually I have to show you guys a video. She puts her hands on it before Friday night. She does this like prayer. I don't know what she does. She sends light to
Oh,
Israel and like people who need to have babies. So like she really connects to this one candle thing. I have to catch her doing it next time or have a video. But
I was gonna say, get us a video of that. We would love
yeah,
Yeah.
it.
yeah. So we're very letting our children know how miraculous they are. The same way as if a child is I know people who have children who have adopted and they tell them all the time about their how their adoption story
Yeah.
because they were very young. Like my friend, he was a baby when he was adopted and he doesn't know. So like the family tells about it, talks about it. And for us it's very important so our children understand how not just how special and important they are, which they know, but how grateful they should be to Hashem for everything and not take it for granted. And hopefully that slowly goes into their minds. So as they get older, they understand to be grateful and compassionate for other people who are struggling with maybe health issues or finance issues. It doesn't just have to be infertility. It's the idea, that global idea of finding compassion and understanding for somebody. And we learned that in our marriage. I had to learn compassion from my husband, which I was like, I'm the one struggling, not you.
Right.
And he had to learn compassion for me, where he's like, he's like, wait, hold on 1 second. Like, it's not just about the end result. I got to hold you and support you through this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, it's sad. It took me, I'm 42 and we're coming up on 17 years married. Um, Still learning how to properly hold space and emotional space for my wife. Um, I think my generation, we weren't shown that.
Mhm.
I know it's not the fault of my parents or that generation. It just wasn't in society. Movies didn't show it, TV didn't show it. They didn't have Instagram back then, but today you open up Instagram and it's every other video I'm seeing is how to parent, how to be a better husband, how to be this and that. If your child comes to you crying, get down on the knee, give them a hug instead of yelling or saying scream, be quiet or shut up. And I just think it's, I've shown Sammy, our oldest, funny movies that I found funny as a kid.
Mm.
So- and they're not funny today because if back then funny was like a dad yelling at in Home Alone, a kid,
Right.
like, shut up and be quiet. Yeah, like,
Honest,
right. Like,
kids are
there's
terrible.
no emotional feeling. There was no, so now I think
You're
society is
products of
demanding that.
the 80s. I get
Yeah,
it. Like
correct.
we
The
all
80s were
are.
emotionless.
Right, those movies, man.
Yeah.
Right.
They forgot him and they went, they left on vacation without their
Yeah,
kid.
exactly. The whole flight. That's
I
like,
get it.
I don't know. I just think
Well,
that I think today, the next generation has a better, has more info on how to be emotionally connected
yeah, I would agree.
than I did, because I definitely still don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm trying.
And that's the role that you do at that Tikva does. They not just educate and help people who are going through infertility, but their families, their friends,
Yeah.
children. I know like a lot of back end stuff that we're planning to do to help not just people who are struggling, but to go to the younger generation and start helping the education back there, which I'm really excited about. I can't wait for that to come out.
Me too.
But yeah, that's the role that you help and you fulfill.
Look, I know hearing the phone calls in the house, from Ayala's friends or even people that go to book a baby and to purchase items that they're connected to HTIC. The name goes around because there was a vacancy,
Mhm.
for sure, a vacancy in organizations that supported fertility, not just a Boniola money or anything like that, but an organization where you felt emotionally connected and people cared. Not that others don't, but there was a vacancy, and I hear the phone calls for the last God knows how many years of people thanking Ayala for the one candle, which I think was just every Shabbos. I'm blown away by it. It was such a beautiful thing that she came up with, and it still holds back. And I don't know, in random places, people bring it up. People walking around like in Surfside, Miami, and say, "Oh, you did one candle. Every Shabbos I'm doing it." And I just think it's such an important thing that Yeshikva gives the awareness, does allow focus on the husbands, does give a voice for the husbands,
Mhm.
does give a place for them to voice their frustrations or help educate them on how to be more supportive for the spouses.
Mhm.
Because I didn't have it, and I know now what I would have done differently in a lot of the circumstances in our journey.
Mhm.
But I think now husbands have a much better chance to grasp that earlier on, because I know I can only imagine, because I can't remember, I'm not in the shoes, how hurtful it was for Ayala that I wasn't there
Mhm.
emotionally the way I needed to be.
Yeah.
They're such an important part of any woman's life, whether it's IVF, whether it's IUI, whether it's natural pregnancy. That whole journey is an extreme emotional, physical roller coaster.
Mhm.
And if you're checked out, you literally just put more distance between a
Mhm.
couple that doesn't have to be there. It doesn't.
Thank you guys so much for just, again, the vulnerability and your openness. And maybe it's easy for you, but I want to acknowledge it's not easy for everybody to just be so open and honest on like in a public space. And again, I want to plug your podcast episode and your podcast in general one more time, because if you are watching this and you're like, these two, just the information they're giving is priceless. You can get a lot more of it right on
Yeah.
this podcast episode from June 17th on the Pure podcast. The episode is called Broken Male Infertility. It says like mature for audiences. Don't listen if you have little one ears around, maybe not for them, but it's I'm like, I laughed, I cried. I feel like as silly as that sounds, it's true. I was tearing up. I was laughing. It's just your dynamic is I really appreciate it, just from the bottom of my heart, and I appreciate you guys spending your evening with me and chatting. For everybody who's watching, I also want to plug, you guys are hosting a holiday in your home on September 11th, so coming up
What?
right after. Did you not know that? Sorry,
No,
we're gonna be at your house.
no.
And so you're in
Happening.
Florida. Remind me, where are you, in Boca in Florida?
We're near Boca. We're not far
Okay.
from Boca.
Boynton
So
Beach.
if you're in that area, folks watching this, and you're in Florida and you want to get involved, see these two live and in person, make some challah,
Come.
do something for the Yeshtikva community and the infertility community. You can do all of it in one place and leave with
Boynton Beach is
pounds
the
of
next
challah.
hot spot in South Florida. Is Boynton Beach.
Please move there.
Please come to Boynton Beach. West
But
Boynton Beach. West Boynton.
West.
West.
okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm a New Yorker through and through, so my
Now
knowledge
the
of
new
Florida
mayor.
geography little limited.
We'll bring you down eventually.
Listen,
It's a matter of time.
I have a lot of family that's down there and migrating, so you'll see me around.
Awesome.
Fun.
I'll
Actually,
get there for a holiday.
I also want to say, if there
Yes.
is anybody that listens to this live or the recording, I love to use my podcast to be able to share other people's infertility journeys. If you feel this speaks to you, if this is something that you want to share, please contact me through Boca Baby or Pure Podcast. And if you want to share your story, we can do it in a beautiful way. And there's the more people that are open about this, the more people it helps. I never thought that if I shared my story, it would help a person, a soul. I can't even tell you how many people have been like, thank you so much. This has helped me emotionally, or it helped me find the right doctor, or helped me talk to my husband. So your story can affect even one person, and that's all that it matters. So if it feels like a calling to you and you've always wanted a platform to do it, please reach out to me or Yesh Tikva, and I would love to have you on my podcast here in Florida.
Yes, and we would love to connect whoever wants to be connected as well.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much. This is the first of what I hope is many, many conversations. We have some future plans between all of us, so you will see these two again, by all means. And in the meantime, have a great night, everybody. And thank you
Good
for
night.
For
joining
your
us.
time tonight.
Thanks
Thank you.
so
It was
much.
wonderful. Lovely
Of
talking
course,
with you.
you too.
Chodesh Tov. Good Shabbos.
Yes, good
Thank you.
Shabbos. Bye.